Before we begin, please hit that like button, share, and subscribe for more. Thanks for being part of the story. It happened about 5 years ago. Me and my friends were huge movie fans, always making time to catch the latest releases at the theater. One day, a highly anticipated blockbuster came out, a movie so famous that everyone was talking about it. From glowing reviews to non-stop ads, it seemed like the entire world was waiting for it. Naturally, my friend was one of them, and he was determined to see it on the very first day. He called me one night, hoping we could go together. Unfortunately, I was busy that evening and couldn't make it. Disappointed but still excited about the movie, he decided to go alone and catch the last show of the night. A few weeks later, I heard about the movie from my friend. He couldn't stop talking about how great it was, and that only made me more curious. I decided I had to see it for myself. I asked him if he'd be up for watching it again, but he said he was tied up with other plans. Besides, having already seen it, he admitted he wasn't as eager to watch it a second time. Determined not to miss out, I asked another friend to join me, and we made plans to catch the same movie at the same theater for the last show of the night. By that time, the film had already been in theaters for 2 weeks. The initial buzz had died down, and the crowds had thinned out. The once lively theater lobby, which had been bustling with energy on opening night, now felt quieter. I noticed how empty the space was compared to what I'd expected. It was a bit eerie, to be honest, but I brushed it off, thinking it was just a late hour. After the movie ended, my friend and I walked out of the theater, chatting about our favorite scenes. That's when I suddenly felt a sharp, urgent need to use the bathroom. I told my friend to wait by the elevator and quickly headed toward the restroom in the theater lobby, as the one near the elevator was packed with people. When I reached the men's room, I was met with a yellow cleaning sign propped up outside. It was closed for cleaning. Feeling urgent, I glanced toward the women's restroom. It appeared to be open, and there didn't seem to be anyone around. For a moment, I hesitated. It was a women's bathroom after all. Contemplating what to do, I finally called out to see if anyone was inside. I wasn't about to just barge in, no matter how urgent the situation. I waited for a bit, but no response came. I called out again, a little louder this time, hoping to get a reply. Nothing. I couldn't hold it anymore. The clock was ticking, and I didn't want to keep my friend waiting too long. I peeked inside. The restroom seemed empty, with every stall door wide open, so I figured it must be empty. I glanced around one last time, took a deep breath, and made my way in. I slipped into the second-to-last stall and quickly got to business. The sound of the lock clicking shut was oddly comforting, and for a moment, I allowed myself to relax. But just as I thought I was in the clear, I heard footsteps approaching the restroom. My heart skipped a beat. Who could it be? I immediately thought it might be a cleaning lady. She must have finished cleaning the men's room, and now she's coming to do the women's room. The footsteps stopped near the entrance, and for a split second, there was silence. My mind raced. I wasn't sure what to do. "Sorry, I'm using the women's restroom because the men's is closed and it was urgent," I said quickly. To my surprise, a calm female voice responded from the entrance.
"No problem. Go ahead. I'll come back later,"
she said. Her tone was kind, almost nonchalant, as if she had encountered this kind of thing before. I listened carefully, and soon her footsteps faded away. Feeling relieved, I managed to avoid what could have been an incredibly awkward situation. After taking a moment to compose myself, I couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of the situation. But just about 5 minutes later, I heard another set of footsteps. This time, the steps were louder, like someone wearing high heels, each step echoing ominously in the quiet restroom. I froze for a moment, wondering who it could be. The person stopped right outside the stalls before choosing the last one, directly next to mine. The sharp sound of the lock sliding into place made me feel uneasy. I thought it might be a theater staff member or another patron, so I told myself to relax and carried on with my business. Moments later, there was a soft knock on the stall wall beside me, followed by a female voice.
"Could I have some toilet paper? There is none left here,"
she said, her tone polite but tinged with slight embarrassment. Trying not to alarm her, I responded politely, chuckling nervously and explaining my awkward situation with a light-hearted apology as I passed a roll of toilet paper under the stall divider. She took it without a word, and I thought that was the end of it. But then her phone rang, breaking the awkward silence. She answered immediately. At first, she spoke softly, but her voice soon grew tense as she began arguing, clearly with someone, likely her boyfriend. She sounded frustrated, and the person on the other end was harsh, almost taunting her with bitter words about their relationship. I felt increasingly uncomfortable as the argument grew louder, but I wanted to stay quiet, not wanting to intrude. The argument escalated and she began to cry, her voice cracking with emotion, while the man's voice on the other end became increasingly cruel, telling her they should break up if she wasn't happy with the relationship. I sat there, frozen, unsure whether to leave and give her privacy or stay quiet and wait for the moment to pass. The stall felt smaller than ever. Finally, I heard her say in a trembling voice,
Fine. If you really feel that way, maybe we should just end things.
The line went silent, and then I heard a low, choked sob, as if she were fighting to hold herself together. Feeling a wave of sympathy for her, I hesitated for a moment before gently asking, I don't mean to intrude, but are you okay? Is there anything I can help with? The sobs continued, faint at first, but there was no answer. Then, as if she were trying to suppress her grief, the sobbing became quieter, almost drowned out by the eerie stillness that followed. I finished up what I was doing and prepared to leave, but as I unlocked my stall, the woman's voice suddenly broke through the silence. Her voice was louder now, frantic.
Please, help me. Please.
Her words came out in a desperate cry, almost like a plea for mercy. Startled, I tried to calm her down, offering to talk outside if she needed help. Then, without warning, her plea turned into something far more sinister, angry cries, each one growing more demanding.
Help me now. I told you to help me.
She began shaking the stall divider with violent force, making loud, unsettling banging sounds. The noise echoed through the restroom, and I could hear her footsteps pacing rapidly within her stall, almost as if pacing in a confined space. My heart raced. Something felt terribly wrong. I could sense the tension, the fear clawing at me. My body froze for a split second, but then I realized I needed to get out of there. I hurried to exit, panic starting to creep in. As I pushed open the door to leave, I accidentally hit my head on the doorframe. The impact was sharp and sudden, but it hardly mattered. The real fear came when I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps following closely behind me. Too close. The air grew colder, and a chill ran down my spine. I didn't dare turn around. My instincts screamed at me to escape. I stumbled out of the restroom, practically running, and found my friend waiting by the elevator. His eyes locked onto me instantly, noticing the paleness of my face and how visibly shaken I was. He stepped forward, concern etched on his features. Barely able to speak, I stammered, "There's a ghost in there. Something was in the stall next to me." My voice trembled with every word, and I could see that my friend was already worried. Without hesitation, he grabbed my arm and led me away, no questions asked. The fear in my voice was enough. We left the building immediately, abandoning my car in the theater's parking lot without a second thought. The experience had left me in a state of shock, unable to process what had happened. I couldn't speak coherently, the words stuck in my throat, and every time I closed my eyes, the haunting memory of that moment replayed in my mind. My family grew increasingly concerned, and desperate to help, took me to several temples. They made offerings and prayed, hoping it would bring me peace, but nothing seemed to help. Over time, I slowly regained my composure, but the terror lingered. Sometimes I would find myself staring blankly at nothing, lost in a memory that felt too real to shake off. A few days later, my friend, whom I had asked to go with me, came to check on me, bringing along another friend who happened to be a former employee of that movie theater. He had worked there long before and was all too familiar with the unsettling stories that had circulated among the staff. As we sat down, he shared the eerie history of that restroom. According to him, a female employee had tragically passed away there years ago after a heated argument with her boyfriend. The argument escalated, and in the end, she took a bottle of pills right there in the very restroom stall. The worst part, though, was what happened afterward. Late at night, especially during the last shows of the evening, theater staff and moviegoers alike began to hear strange sounds emanating from the restroom, crying, arguing, and sometimes the sound of a woman talking on the phone, as if reliving that tragic moment. The eerie whispers seemed to rise and fall in the empty theater halls. The staff, aware of these ghostly occurrences, often avoided that area after hours, too spooked to venture near the restroom. Even today, the memory of that story still gives me chills and makes me avoid late-night movies entirely,